Well, Twosun Tuesday, and we have a Wong design here. This is the TS236. And this one's a pretty interesting beast here. Flip this guy out, and you can see that we have quite the upswept nature to the blade. The tip is just slightly above that pivot, so I suppose it's kind of a Persian-inspired, but not super aggressive in that particular way. It is, however, a really long blade. And, yeah, to kind of prove that point, yeah, it's just a touch under 4 inches. But a lot of the things about this knife really make it seem a little bit smaller, a little bit more manageable to carry. First up, I have done an aftermarket kind of bronzing anodization work on there. For doing that with some carbon fiber stuff, I kind of like that from time to time. It depends on how flashy I'm going, but I do think gold also works really, really nice with it. But I thought bronze worked pretty well with this. We do have carbon fiber scales here on the front with some milling lines, maybe like a very simple constellation kind of look to them or something like that. Not quite sure. But we also do have a pocket clip that curves, has quite a lot of milling going on there on the top, but works out quite well. It does have a nice flat spot and a nice ramp to it, and also kind of stays out of the way. This isn't the most egregious design in the world, but you can see some shiny stuff there. That's basically me right before here feeling across, and yeah, I could touch that blade. So you know, what I've done with some newer models, and I'll probably end up doing with this, is just kind of grind that down a little bit so I don't end up having something that'll slice me open accidentally if I'm grabbing it into my pocket. So, what a lot of others have said about this knife, this one in particular, my specimen, doesn't fully meet that, and that's a lot of people who get this say it has an amazing drop shutty action. And mine, no matter what I end up doing, it's a wiggle shut. It is a nice smooth action. I'm not feeling any grit, but I cannot make this thing a drop shut action. But I've seen most others have it, so yeah, I guess your mileage may or may not vary on that particular point there. It's got some finger grooves going on here. And they are in quite nice positions. I do find that they are comfortable if I want to do a relaxed saber grip rather than something straight up and down if I want to grip it a little bit further back and brace that on my palm. Those finger grooves are still comfortable that way. So I don't really have any pointy things kind of getting in the way there. The pocket clip works pretty darn well. You feel it in the hand, but it's not really giving me much of a hot spot at all. We do have a very, very well implemented sharpening choil there. We can see the plunge grind ends basically around here. So we do have quite a bit of sharpening to be able to do to before we would end up hitting that with any of our sharpening stones or anything like that. And that might end up being a little bit earlier on in the lifespan of this thing, because I do need to take this part of the blade down a little bit so it's not readily available for soft finger meat. This guy's got a 14C 28N blade. I have carried this a bit here and there, and yeah, you can definitely see some scratches and things going on there. None of that actually came out of the factory. That was all my fault after the fact. So I suppose you can take that for whatever it's worth. Yeah, I could definitely say from Wong, this wasn't intended to be a finger choil. When he does a finger choil, they're usually much larger and able to accommodate my fingers or almost my fingers. We do see that little triangular hole there, not really used for deployment, just kind of an interesting design piece, and also helps just a little bit with that whole balancing thing going on there. which works out quite well. We have some nice and aggressive finger jimping. That's the word. Yeah, we have some nice jimping there with it having a bit of a scallop to it. So very, very comfortable to grab onto if you really are trying to put some force in there. You definitely have a very positive place for your thumb to go for that. So that's pretty cool. That being said, still it is a fairly curvy Persian-esque kind of blade, so some EDC tasks it might not be quite as good as some others for. Something to keep in mind there. We don't have extra lock bar access, but we do have them scalloped out on both sides. And it works out quite well. This does basically have shadowboxed titanium liners on there, as the carbon fiber doesn't reach all the way up there. Generally not my absolute favorite for comfort, and yeah, you can feel that just a little bit, whereas if you had it flat along with the carbon fiber, you'd have a little bit flatter area that might not be quite as pointy. But, you know, at least you do have your thumb or the top parts here that are adding downward pressure not be a part of that, and it's on the blade there, so that does make it a little bit more comfortable. So that's quite nice. So, yeah, this thing does have a fairly thick blade stock, as you can see up top here. It's 3.8. We can see a bit of a distal taper out towards the tip there, so the tip is not super duper crazy thin, but I wouldn't do anything. I wouldn't pry with this. Let's put it that way. Yeah. So 4-inch blade there. This does, however, absolutely reach that ounce and inch mark, because we're at 3.68 ounces, or about 104 grams for this 4-inch blade here. And yeah, it's a little thicker with the carbon fiber on scales rather than inlay kind of thing going on here. We got 0.60 inches, so about 1/10 of an inch more than a PM2 is. Speaking of which, I should probably do some of those size comparisons. So there's that PM2 and a Benchmade 940 and the rat number 1. So yeah, we can definitely see this guy does have a lot of blade length going on with him. And closing them up, we can see that if you really try, you can engage with that tip there at the very, very end. But under normal circumstances, you're not going to. It's not something where you're going to hit that while it's clipped into your pocket or anything like that. It's something where you have to actively try to dig your finger in there. So, you know, at least that's definitely better than one or two others that I've seen that have had a little bit more exposed tip there. It's a pretty fun and interesting piece from Wong. I mean, obviously he has made some more knives like this. There's the 252 Great Wall that it kind of mixes this Persian shape with a little bit more of a Chinese style cleaver-esque or a dadao style sword kind of shape to it. But this one seems to be just a little bit more pulled back. Very light because of, well, just how everything is end up put together, and works out pretty darn well. Like I did say though, the Persian-esque blade does make it a little bit more difficult if you're actually actively trying to get your tip down onto the board for doing utility cuts. This might not be exactly the style of blade for you, but it certainly is a heck of a lot of fun. I like to pull it out and play with it quite a bit, but I do that with basically all my knives because, well, they're the gentleman's fidget toy, if you will. So that's basically what I wanted to cover here. This is a pretty interesting model. And I'd said it once earlier, and I guess I'll mention it again here. A lot of people who have these say that it has a really, really nice drop shot action. Mine doesn't, but like I said, I'm just one of the many points of reference out there, so your mileage may or may not vary with how well the action is. But this does seem to be a fairly popular model. I haven't seen them on sale in the last couple of months, but I do see them come and go through eBay and other places like White Mountain Knives. So I think they're still probably fairly easy to get your hands on one if you're looking for them. With that being said, I've covered the main review of this guy here. I am going to go ahead and do the disassembly here, but for those who really don't care to actually see the inside of it, then hey, I appreciate you for your time, and I hope this was useful to you in some way, shape, or form, or at least entertaining. And yeah, for the rest of us, let's go ahead and take a look on the inside. First off, we have a pocket clip with a single lash point, but offset and carbon fiber really can take a lot of that abuse. So I don't really have any problems with the pocket clip having play that will develop over time. It might over a long time, but definitely not from just standard use. Yeah, you can see the Chicago screws are a little bit loose there when you go to pull them out. And yeah, definitely carbon fiber onlay, not inlays there. And that does basically make it a little bit thicker there, but it's also because we have the shadowboxed liners going on here. I think it'd probably be a little bit more interesting if they were nested around the carbon fiber. I think that would be kind of interesting, but it wouldn't have that same kind of shadowbox design that he was definitely going for here. And definitely on the show side liner, we can see a lot of why this knife is very, very light. This is quite an extreme case of skeletonization there, which is great. I mean, these are titanium. They can definitely hold up to having a lot of that milled out with still keeping that nice rigid feeling. This is interesting because it's a titanium liner, but we do have the inside lock bar relief, which is something that I tend to prefer seeing on frame locks, but hey, it made it here into a liner lock, so that's kind of interesting. As with all the rest of them, we have that's what I was kind of going to cover here. We do have the standard single row ceramic bearings. And I put that into the wrong hole. At least I thought I did, but I didn't. Okay, well, here we go. We got the stop pin there, fairly thick on that measurement there, which is nice to, this blade doesn't have a whole lot of mass to it, but it is 4 inches long, so definitely helps with the continued deployment thereof. And we do have that D-shaped pivot there going on, which interfaces, as you can see, on that side there. Looks like I got some schmutz on that side there. That probably came from me doing a not so wonderful job of putting Loctite on there. But yeah, there we go. And all of that is correctly in place. At least I think. Certainly seems that way, but I don't think that stop pin was doing quite what it needed to do. So let's go ahead and waste everyone's time and go ahead and slap this back together again and see if I didn't do a better job this time around. Make sure I actually get the spacer in there. It's probably important. That seems a little bit more appropriate. That way the stop pin isn't putting force on the carbon fiber there where it wasn't drilled out to accommodate that. So there we go with that. And it is kind of important that you hold on to those Chicago screws on the back side there as you're putting the screws in, because they don't have much tension on them, so they can just fall straight through. Which it's not the end of any worlds, but it's certainly a little bit easier to deal with if you just kind of brace them on that side, so they don't slip out on you. As far as the pocket clip, that just screws into the titanium liner there, and away we go. I think the pivot's probably just a little touch too tight here, so let me try to adjust that. It's got just a little tiny bit of play. That's great. It does have a bit of a late detent there. Something that Jelly Jerry ends up doing on a lot of his designs, but this is a Wong design, so there you go. Still, that's probably because that's right around where the flipper tab will end up engaging with your thumb. Right. There we go. So, yes, that is the TS236 from Wong Design. It's a pretty interesting design if you are into those more upswept Persian-esque blades, and if you're also looking for a very large knife that also meets that less than an ounce an inch mark. So, there you go. All right. As always, I appreciate y'all for watching, and have yourself a wonderful rest of your day, yo. Subscribe, please.